How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and I'm back with another video. And today we're going to be looking at our Game Week 16 results and the preview for Game Week 17. As you can see, that's my team there. Would have done well had I not taken a -8, but nonetheless, still some good decisions going forward. So let's take a look at the results. We're going to be looking at everything that you can expect to look at. We're also going to be looking ahead to my clean sheets and picks you should be looking out for this week, my predictions as well, and we're going to compare the predictions that I had last week to the actual results. So let's get that. I got my notebook ready as we normally do. We're just going to bring the old tweet across here. Just trying to make it a little bit easier to see. There we go. We'll just put it right there. So those are the results that we got here. So I said Chelsea would win 3-0 versus Everton. Well, that didn't happen. So that's a bit unfortunate. So yeah, I was expecting more from Chelsea, but I guess you can always expect the new manager bounce to be a lot better than what most people would think. Liverpool 3-0 over Bournemouth. We got that exactly right. So that was a pretty good guess there. Spurs 3-2 over Burnley. 5-0 was actually the scoreline. So Jose Mourinho deviating from the 3-2s that they've been getting. So we get 1 point for that as well. I said 2-0 for Crystal Palace over Watford. It was actually 0-0. Nobody actually scored in that game, so we got that completely wrong there. Watford actually showing some resilience versus a high-flying Crystal Palace team. I said 2-1 Man City over United. Should have backed my own team. 2-1 United win. So we got that wrong, but for good reasoning. Leicester, I said 3-1 over Aston Villa. It ended up being 4-1, so we were close there. We get the point for that. Newcastle, I said 2-1 over Southampton. We actually got that one exactly right, too, so that's a pretty good guess on my part. Sheffield United, I said would win 1-0 over Norwich. It ended up being 2-1, so it was still the right result, but not the right score. Brighton and Wolves, I said 1-1. I'm pretty sure I remember saying 2-2 on the last episode that we did here as well. But yeah, we got the result right, but not the exact score line. And then Arsenal, I said would draw with West Ham. They ended up winning, so they got their win back just before the Man City game, so we got that wrong. So total, we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 points total. So that's a really good score line there. I think that ties our best from back in Game Week 6, which is quite good. And if you're not familiar with our point scoring, it's 1 point for a correct result. So if I say 3-1 win and end up being 2-1 win, I get 1 point for that. If I say 2-1 win and it was a 2-1 win, I get 3 points. Anything else is zilch. Clean sheets and our differentials / players to watch out for. Liverpool clean sheet. Well, that came through. Dubravka, I believe he did quite well in this game. I'm just going to slide this across here. Did he get any save points? He got 1 save point, so it wasn't the end of the world for Dubravka as a pick there. So we'll kind of get a half point on that. Kelly obviously kept a clean sheet, got bonus points, did quite well. Salah obviously did well, and Kane did well. So we pretty much got all we got like 4.5 out of 5 on that one. So overall, pretty good. Pretty good overall. If we're looking at the results here, obviously the shocking one is the first one of the week was Chelsea versus Everton. New manager bounce. It could never be underestimated. Duncan Ferguson obviously playing and being a long-standing member at the club for Everton. And that's a bit worrying if you're United going to fight Everton this week. However, it's not at Goodison Park. It is at Old Trafford, so that could be something that may help them. However, there's a stat that's been thrown around, and that United has not won more than 3 games in a row since the first 6 wins in a row at the beginning of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure. So that'll be something that our, I guess, records are meant to be broken. Liverpool obviously getting a clean sheet, which was good for them, keeping their winning streak going. Spurs obviously showing that Mourinho's not messing around, clearly. Came with 2 really strong goals. Son obviously having that amazing goal where he just split the entire team. And obviously United picking up a really big win on the Saturday versus Man City. City just looked to be just in all sorts of shambles. Every time United had the ball in the first half, it looked like they could potentially score. And it could have been on a sight in the first half. Leicester obviously continuing their form, scoring 4 goals. Jamie Vardy scoring again for I believe it's the 8th week in a row. I believe his all-time record is 11, which he set himself in the season that Leicester won the Premier League. Newcastle getting another win under Steve Bruce. So the Newcastle fans are obviously in the beginning were very split on whether Steve Bruce was going to do well, and now he's obviously shown that he can do quite well, and they're fighting, and they seem to be kind of cementing themselves outside the relegation zone. I mean, they have the same amount of points as Arsenal, so what does that tell you? Sheffield United obviously getting a win over Norwich. Obviously, they probably should have kept a clean sheet because Norwich aren't a very good side at the moment, and they'll probably look to see if they can get a clean sheet at home versus Aston Villa in this upcoming game week. Brighton and Wolves said it would be a cagey affair. It was. Obviously, Wolves showing that they could get a goal when they chose, and then they just kind of sat back, which they normally do, and then Brighton obviously punishing them for doing so. Wolves then re-equalizing to make it 2-2 in the first half, and then it was just kind of more or less a gentleman's agreement from the looks of the way the game played out, that they both were kind of taking a point away from each other. And then obviously Arsenal bouncing back is quite important for them. Obviously West Ham being a terrible side that they are, but they managed to get the win, so that's something that's going to be giving them a bit of confidence going into the Man City game that they have at home this weekend on the Sunday. And the key player for them, I think, is going to be Martinelli for sure. He was the most lively one. He was the one who scored Arsenal's first goal for West Ham when they were down 1-0. That's going to be something that they're going to have to be looking at as well. Alright, so the substitutions that we had was we had Mane out for Dendoncker because Mane obviously did not play. I expect him to play this week. We expected him to get some type of rest. If you looked at the fixtures, Mane's basically played, how many games is that? Pretty much straight. 13 games. He got subbed off twice, but he's played like 11 games straight of not being subbed off, so you kind of expect him to get a bit of rest. So I expect him to play this week at home to Watford. Salah got his goals last week. Now it's Mane's turn. Henderson and Ramsdale couldn't split them apart. Both got 3 points for themselves. Obviously the save points counting there. Leicester obviously being disappointing with the clean sheet giveaway, as it were. Jack Grealish obviously scoring a really good goal for himself, and then Pereira getting a yellow card to kind of rub salt in the wound. Across the midfield, obviously Mane didn't play, so Dendoncker came in, getting me 2 points across the board for every midfielder, except for Kevin De Bruyne, who I believe also got a yellow card as well. Yes, he did. Lundstrom obviously only getting 2 points as well. Abraham only getting 2 points. My points literally came from 2 players, and that was Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy, and it's a good thing I did bring in Harry Kane. The only player that I would have had instead would have been Raul Jimenez, who would have got 5 points, and I would have had Sterling, who would have only got me 2 points. So overall, I think it's a good move for the future. So I think it's quite beneficial. Captaining was obviously Kane was the best option this week because he scored twice and got an assist. So yeah, quite good for the game week. Obviously a total of 54 points, 62 minus the 8, which actually dropped us in rank significantly because the average points in the top 10k was 62 points or thereabouts, and since I took a minus 8, it's effectively like I got 8 points less, which sucks, but hey, is what it is. And we used the 3 transfers, so as we saw from the last stream, we took out the likes of Jimenez, Mason Greenwood, and we took out Raheem Sterling. We brought in Harry Kane. We brought in Abraham back in, and we brought in, who was the last person? And Dendoncker, obviously, into the team. So obviously Tomori is now red flagged. He's going to be out till just before Christmas, which is if I just check the game weeks here. So we got, he's basically going to be out for 1 game week, which is unfortunate because they have Bournemouth at home, which is a pretty good fixture. Mind you, Chelsea hasn't been known to keep clean sheets, and they've had a dip in form. They're only winning 1 out of the last 4, just getting through in the Champions League as well. Um, so yeah, let's take a look at what the fixtures look like for this week coming. So let's bring over our little notepad here, and we can run down the fixtures. So we got Liverpool versus Watford. I think this should obviously be no surprises here. I think Liverpool should win. I think they should keep a clean sheet. I don't think that there's any possibility of Watford getting a result here. I'm going to go with the same scoreline that they won with last week, which was 3-0. Burnley versus Newcastle. This could be a very interesting one because obviously Newcastle on a high at the moment. Burnley obviously with mixed results. Yeah, with Ashley Barnes being out, they haven't looked the same team. So I think Newcastle could potentially edge this one. I'm going to go with a 2-1 like I did for their last result. Chelsea should be beating Bournemouth 3-0 at home. Should be no problems there. Leicester with the same result should be a clean sheet there for them as well. I just think that Norwich and Bournemouth are in such bad shape now. Bournemouth with I believe it's Brooks is out for 2 months, I want to say. Josh King is also out as well. They're riddled with injuries, and they're basically not looking too sharp. And then Norwich is just a team that's been promoted, and they're going against arguably the best team in the league in Leicester, barring Liverpool. Sheffield United, Aston Villa, I think this could be a very close game. I think that Sheffield United has the defensive prowess to basically counter Aston Villa on the break, because Aston Villa do like to play through Jack Grealish, and I do think that leaves them open for counterattacks, which is just what Sheffield United want to do. I'm actually going to go with a 1-0 here. I think that Sheffield United can shut them out, and I think they'll probably get one on the break, and that'll be the storyline of the game. Southampton versus West Ham. Southampton at home. Obviously Danny Ings scoring for 3 games straight, I believe it is now. I expect them to obviously go on and win this game as well. I also expect them to keep a clean sheet because I think West Ham are that awful. So Southampton 2, West Ham 0. Manchester United versus Everton. We gotta back United obviously this time around. So what if they can't win 3 games in a row? I think they'll win 3 games in a row. I think it's going to be a 2-1. Worst case, it'll probably be a draw. But I think United should have more than enough to beat Everton, especially with the full team out there. Rashford's obviously been on fire. Yeah, it's defensively Everton hadn't been the greatest. And obviously Rashford, Martial, Dan James, those can exploit them quite easily. So it should be an interesting game there. Wolves at home to Spurs. Now this should be quite interesting because typically Mourinho's teams have been very difficult in terms of trying to break down an enemy opposition. They did lose midweek versus Bayern Munich, but obviously they didn't put out the full strength squad, and neither did Bayern for the most part. And it's just they showed that they could break down Burnley and tore them to bits basically. So I see them being able to do well versus Spurs. I think Wolves will get one on the counterattack, but I think Spurs could get a few goals in this game. I think they'll win 3-1. City versus Arsenal. This could be a high-scoring game. It could just be absolute capitulation from either team. I just think that Arsenal aren't as good defensively as Man City are. Arsenal's only win in their last 2 months has been against West Ham, who's arguably the worst team on form right now. So, yeah, I think City should win this. Defense or not, they should just be able to straight outscore them. They'll keep the ball more. Arsenal haven't been actually that clinical in front of goal. So I think City will concede purely. I think it'll be a 3-1 to City. And then lastly, I think this will also be a close contest here as well. I can see this being potentially a clean sheet for Palace. I can also see it being a clean sheet for Brighton. But I think Palace obviously do a lot better. They did obviously their form at home has been a lot better than what it was last season. If we just we're just going to take a look at Wilfred Zaha. We can kind of run down the fixtures here. So games at home, they've kept 1, 2, 3, 4 clean sheets out of 7 or 8. And away from home, not so much. So yeah, gonna be. They got the 1 clean sheet obviously versus Burnley and Watford. Any more here? Does not look like it. But yeah, so obviously a lot better at home than away. Brighton obviously doing quite well for themselves, obviously playing out from the back, playing the new age style of football, as it were. So we can obviously expect them to be quite good in their own right. I think it'll be a tough contest. Do I think Crystal Palace will keep a clean sheet? I think they can do. I'm going to actually go 1-0 Crystal Palace. I think it's going to be a very close contest. But I think Crystal Palace would just edge it. So what does that mean for our picks? Well, I think the obvious clean sheet this week should be Chelsea. If they're conceding to Bournemouth, well then something's wrong. I think Bournemouth they're too rattled with injuries. They're not in great shape at all. I can see them easily, pushing Bournemouth to the side, especially when they should have their full strength squad. Apart from Tomori being out, it should be no problems for them here at all. In goal, we're going to go with Guaita from Crystal Palace. I think they should keep a clean sheet versus Brighton. I think it's going to be not much going on in terms of attack-wise for both teams, because both teams are pretty solid defensively. Obviously, like we said, Crystal Palace getting 4 clean sheets at home this season already, and Brighton being somewhat resilient away from home, but obviously not as strong as Palace are at home. And yeah, I think Guaita should be able to rack up some saves. If he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he'll probably get at least 3 points for sure. In defense, we have Kelly. Obviously coming in, he was 4.1, just last week. He's now 4.3. And he's probably going to be my replacement for Tomori, who's out for a game week. Because I want to have somebody that's going to be reliable off the bench. So, gonna have to go with him. In midfield, obviously it's Mane's turn this week. It was Salah's turn last week. Mane's in this week. Hopefully we can that good luck charm going. And also Mane's obviously a captaincy option against Watford this week. So yeah, it's definitely a good pick, I think, considering Watford's form. And Danny Ings I picked for Southampton in the forward position. Obviously scored 3 and 3 is against West Ham, arguably the worst team in the league. In terms of form, their defense is awful. Pellegrini's never been able to set up a team for good defensively for 90 minutes, and I think Ings will get his opportunity to score. So, I predicted a lot of clean sheets this week. I don't think it's going to pan out that way, but hopefully the clean sheets for my team pan out that way. So, this is our team currently, how we have it set up. So we have obviously Dean Henderson at home, obviously the home fixture. We don't want our Chelsea boys going up against our goalkeeper, so that's something we want to keep consistent. So yeah, Dean Henderson at home to Aston Villa, as well as Lundstrom is in there as well. We have the triple Leicester team in there. We have 2 defense in Pereira and Soyuncu at home to Norwich, with Vardy as our captain at home to Norwich. I think it's safe to say that Vardy scored 8 game weeks in a row. Just keep the captaincy armband on him until he doesn't score, probably. And it's home to Norwich. They're not looking great. Leicester's on fire. No sense in changing it. We changed it for Kane because they had we wanted to be different, and it actually worked quite well. But I think Vardy will do damage again this week as well. Zaha obviously got him in there. We're going to keep him in there. He's been doing well for himself. He's gotten 3 points and 3 points, which is slightly above average. We obviously want him to get a return this week, especially being at home. Chelsea, obviously home to Bournemouth, should be a lot of goals in that. I predicted 3, so hopefully Mount and Abraham can get on the score sheet this week as well. Kevin De Bruyne against Arsenal are my only City player left. He's going to have to step it up because obviously not been playing to their full potential. City, especially in the midfield, and the gap between the midfield and the defense has widened, and the teams are exploiting that, and that's why you see City obviously getting counterattacked and conceding goals left, right, and center. So hopefully De Bruyne is one of the ones that is able to shore up the attack and get some assists and potentially some goals for us. Mane, like we said, he's one of our players to watch out for this week. Salah got his goals last week, like we said. It's Mane's turn. Mane's at home. He usually scores at home. We're going to go with that. And obviously Kane, we got to back Kane in here. Wolves away, we can expect Kane to get in and around the box. Potentially maybe get some, we have to see if Spurs are able to force the issue by shoving their wide men in the faces of the wingbacks of Wolves, getting in the box, being direct, seeing if they can beat a man, potentially winning a penalty. Kane gets on the score sheet, and if Spurs get on the score sheet early, it can get ugly really fast, because it seems like Spurs are the type of team that once they get 1, it can turn into 4. So Hopefully that is the case. Obviously Ramsdale's our backup goalkeeper. Don't plan on playing him. Tomori is currently our first sub because he has the best fixture out of all the players. Dan Donker can potentially go ahead as he is also at home for the time being. Obviously Rico we're not playing. We hope that Rico doesn't come off our bench. But I think we'll probably end up taking Tomori out just because he's injured. And we want to obviously shore up our bench. Obviously Tomori being 4.8, Kelly is 4.3, so we might end up doing that. We can also check out other options as well, but I think that would be the structure of our team. For the time being, I'll just put Dan Donker in front, just because he's going to play for sure. But yeah, I don't see us changing the captaincy at all. I think Vardy's obviously the best pick here. So if we go to our transfers, we have 0.6 in the bank. We have one free transfer, and we probably need to fix the Tomori issue, considering he's going to be out for a week, which is effectively 2 weeks. So we could bring in the likes of one of the defenders that are on fire, like Johnny Evans, who apparently just scores all the time now. Baldic, obviously a new rising star over the last week. Obviously he keeps the same clean sheet as Lundstrom, plays wing back. But if we take a look at some of the defenders here, potentially the likes of Chilwell's a bit too expensive for us. The only we can go 5.4 is the highest we can go up potentially at Dunk. Obviously don't want to necessarily do that. Obviously Kelly is doing quite well for himself. Maybe a Serge Aurier, but Aurier is always a red card away from being an absolute disaster, in my opinion. I think the smartest play is just bring in Kelly. He's fairly highly owned. They have really good fixtures. He's going to continue to play. Yeah, I think it just doesn't make sense not to bring him in. So we'll put Kelly into the team. We'll confirm that transfer. And then what we'll do is we will put... do we want to put Kelly ahead of Dendonker? I'm not entirely sure. What am I more sure of? Am I more sure of Sheffield United keeping a clean sheet versus Aston Villa, or Crystal Palace keeping a clean sheet ahead of Brighton? So have they played Aston Villa yet? No, they haven't. So how many clean sheets have they kept at home? 1, 2, 3. They haven't kept many clean sheets. They only kept 3 clean sheets at home. Yeah, it's a bit touch and go on this one. I definitely think I'll keep I'll put Kelly first up because I think they do have the potential to keep a clean sheet. Obviously want to favor De Bruyne over the likes of Kelly. I think what I should do is I should swap Kelly and Lundstrom. I think I should play Kelly because then it also fans out my defense and splits it across 3 teams rather than 2, which is favorable. I think both Crystal Palace and Sheffield United have the potential to keep clean sheets. It's a bit tricky, this one. A bit tricky. And obviously, let's check the recent fixtures. Haven't been great there, whereas Crystal Palace have been quite good. Let's actually go check, where's Brighton? Brighton's recent form. Obviously they've pretty much been scoring in their last few games, and they obviously played quite well. What about Aston Villa? I feel like Aston Villa always score. That's my problem. Away from home, they lost to Chelsea. Away, Away they won. Away they lost. Away they lost. I think Aston Villa away from home aren't great. I don't think they're great from the looks of it. I don't know, it's a bit tough. It's a bit tough. I'm just trying to think. This one's difficult. This one is very, very difficult. I think I'm gonna have to think on this one, but I think for the time being, we're gonna keep this this team as is. We'll put Kelly ahead of Den Donker because we want Kelly to come in first over Den Donker, I believe. And I think that's gonna be the team. The only change that I could make is Kelly for Lundstrom. That's the only other change that I can see happening. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for this week. Make sure to follow the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure to go check us out over on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, PilotFlame226, everywhere and anywhere on any platform. Hopefully you guys will have a good game week, and hopefully we can get some more points this week, and we hope Jamie Vardy continues scoring because he's our captain for the week. And hopefully we can get some clean sheets this week. I predicted a lot of them, and hopefully they come through. So that's going to do it for now. So where you are in the world, have a good day, have a good night, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.